What's going on, everyone? Evan and Jordan here from Battlehawk Armory today, and we have a special guest here in the shop with us today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, my name is Carlos. I'm a field training supervisor with Nightforce Optics. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Who is Nightforce?
So Nightforce is a top-tier optics and accessory manufacturer that really caters toward the hunter, competitor, or shooter, or tactical gunner that is going to be taking their optics into more rugged environments and using them to the extremes of where we would find in all of those disciplines. Yeah.
So could you run us through the product line and kind of tell us what different features come with different models exactly?
Yeah. Well, we're really known for a lot of our cutting edge features and as well as our rigidity. We basically started over 30 years ago in the Australian outback. A man named Dr. Ray Dennis was actually able to put himself through dental school by harvesting pelts at night. So they were doing a lot of nighttime hunting, and what he found was optics were A, breaking all the time, or B, he couldn't see into the night, even with artificial light, to identify these animals. So he teamed up with a firm to build a more rugged optic, as well as have an optic with better light transmission and resolution so that he could see further into the night, hence Nightforce. So we have kind of a hunting background. Since then, well, who are some other people that might be interested in a more rugged scope that can see into darker places in later hours of the day? Maybe military. So with our NXS line, a few years ago, well, about a decade ago now, the military picked it up for contracts, and the rest is history. Nightforce has kind of expanded into more of a militaristic view, but it has a lot of humble hunting tradition behind it. So nowadays we have ATAC-Rs, which is all modern military contract. They're all catered toward a military contract, which they have since won. So we have everything from a 1 to 8 all the way to a 7 to 35, everything in between. So this is our biggest, most premier line, has our best glass. 34 millimeter body tube, tons of internal adjustment, zero stop technology, all the bells and whistles. Now, if you want something that has the features of the ATAC-R, but is a little bit smaller, lighter, a little bit more affordable, the NX8 is an awesome option. So it's basically the ATAC-R's younger brother. It has all the features, all the bells and whistles, but shrunk down into about 75 to 80% of the price. Shape, weight, all that stuff. Now, you are getting better glass out of the ATAC-R, so if you are doing this for low light hunting or target shooting, or trying to find a target that's hidden in a cluttered background, the ATAC-R is going to do it better. NX8 is such a good scope. It's punching so far above its class. It starts right around $1,700 and goes up to about $2,300 depending on SKU. But it is definitely outpunching its class. All the bells and whistles of the ATAC-R, a little bit smaller, slight trade-off on the glass, but you're not going to be able to see that unless you're taking it out to extreme ranges.
Right.
Yep. We also have the SHV. SHV stands for Shooter Hunter Varminter. It's something that we came out with about 10 years ago to bring NXS level product at more of a price point. It's basically how you get into the Nightforce brand without spending all the money on the features like zero stop or digital illumination or anything like that. So great body tube, great glass, still as rugged and as repeatable as everything else, but just kind of a simplified feature set that makes it more cost effective for the user. So something for everyone, anything from $1,000 all the way up to $4,000 and everything in between. We really do have something for all of the serious competitors, tacticians, hunters out there.
So really, in the Nightforce line, the way to kind of look at this from, the end user standpoint, as you're kind of selecting these optics, really the things that you can kind of help steer your decision is, with an ATAC-R, you're getting a 34 mil tube, correct? Mm-hmm. So in those 34 mil tubes, you have the most adjustment. So if you're an extreme long range shooter and you're dialing on your turrets, you're shooting at extreme distances. Not only are you going to be able to dial for those distances, but also you're going to have the best glass, best light transmission for shooting farther distance, and then again, as you brought up, shooting in lower light. So at the top of the food chain is going to be stuff like the ATAC-R in tons of different magnification ranges, and zero stop on all models, correct?
All except for our LPVOs, which have capped turrets.
So capped turret on the LPVO, but everything else is zero stop. And then digital illumination across the board in everything ATACR. Stepping down, if you like the features of an ATACR, but you don't like the price point or the weight, you can look at something like the NX8, correct?
Exactly.
So,
all the features, just a little bit smaller.
Exactly. A little bit smaller, which means it's also going to be a little bit wider. You're not going to have quite the same degree of elevation and travel and things like that, but you're still getting digital illumination. You're still getting really good reticles and the same Nightforce durability across the line. And if that is still too much for you, if you're a hunter, the way I kind of look at it is, it's not so much that this is a cheaper optic. This is the stripped down version of a Nightforce. So it's the lightest weight with the most minimalistic feature set, meant for simple applications like just your standard hunting rifle that you carry more than you shoot.
Yep.
If that sounds like you in your application, then the SHV might be a pretty good fit for you, correct?
Very well said.
Awesome.
Very well said.
So with all of these features, why would a customer choose the Nightforce brand over any of these other optic manufacturers out there today?
It's a great question. So there's a lot of good optics out there in the market. It's no secret. We know the good ones. They all have something to offer, if it's features or reticles or the wow factor or anything like that. However, something that none of them do quite as well as Nightforce Optics is a rugged, reliable, and repeatable optic day in, day out. The stickers that you see here on all of our scopes, they actually, you can't see it on these because these are the samples that I take around and the Sharpie wore off of them, but they are hand inspected and signed by someone who has personally checked these scopes under over 140 points of inspection, every scope. And that goes from reticle tilt, reticle collimation, to make sure that they can withstand an impact test. And guys, if you haven't seen the impact test, please go on YouTube, just look up Nightforce Optics impact test, add SHOT Show somewhere in there in the search bar, and you'll see just how brutal we are on these scopes. We are literally trying to get them to break, to fail, for the reticle to dislodge and come loose before sending them out the door, so that we can be confident, so much to put our name on it, that they are not going to fail in the field or anything like that. So the guys that are running the ATAC-Rs in theater, they are doing some very impressive things with these. They're taking the most important shots in the world, and they trust their equipment to the Nightforce brand. So very happy about that, very proud to say that. But yeah, just back to your question, if you're looking for something that's more rugged, reliable, and repeatable for your use, no one can top the Nightforce.
Not only do these have a modern military pedigree, they are tested to extreme degrees in the factory, which is where again?
Orfino, Idaho. Yeah, we've
So,
been there for over 25 years now.
Everything's produced domestically as much as it can be, essentially. Winning military contracts, extremely durable, and really premium features and optics in Nightforce.
Yeah, and it doesn't just have to be a military application. Like, I've been to competitions where I've seen turrets or reticles in the field actually fail because they're coming in and out of a barricade or a window and smacked their turret on something, smacked their objective on it, something came loose, and they're out.
Yeah.
So warranties are great to have, but our philosophy at Nightforce is the best warranty is one that you're never going to need.
Things always tend to fail when you need them the most, so it's always good to know that optics like these essentially will not fail you. So if that sounds like you, definitely check out the Nightforce line, because as we discussed today, they have something for everyone. So the last thing that I kind of want to do is just put everybody on the spot. So Jordan, we'll start with you. If you had to pick one Nightforce optic to take home right now today, what Nightforce optic are you taking home?
ATACR for sure.
Okay, which ATACR? Why?
Probably the 1:8, I believe.
Yeah.
The glass is insanely clear. The zoom adjustment on it, I think, is one of the smoothest ones out of any LPVO type optic. And like you mentioned, the light collection on Nightforce in general is just insane to me.
Right. And then again, kind of interesting thing, since you brought up the zoom on the 1:8 ATACR and a lot of the ATACRs, the interesting thing is it's not just a ring that actually rotates to zoom. Yeah, it's great that it includes this knurled throw lever, but the actual entire rear eyepiece rotates to actually do your zoom on most of your ATACR lines. So super easy to actually utilize that zoom as well. Yeah. So definitely a really good choice. How about you? If you were taking home one Nightforce optic today, what's your favorite?
That is a tough one. I mean, there's nothing the 7-35 can't do. It's a 35 power scope that parallaxes down to 11 yards and has over 120 minutes of adjustment. So what more do you want? I mean, you can't really overscope a gun as long as it has the accuracy and the velocity to achieve
Right.
your max distance and everything. So between the 7 to 35, the ATAC-R 1 to 8, and the NX8 2.5 to 20, you can solve all problems with
Right.
those things.
And
So-
since you mentioned that parallax, one of the things that we see the Nightforce line used for more than anything else is the NRL stuff. The guys that are shooting the precision rimfire stuff, you can really appreciate the advantage to adjust that parallax down to as low as 11 yards. So if you're shooting precision targets at really close distances, that's another application where Nightforce really kind of dominates some of the competitors. So yeah, sounds like the two of you are both taking home an ATACR, which I think are pretty good optics, pretty good decision. But for me, the new kind of enhanced NX8 would be the one that I'm taking home. Again, I really like the idea that I get now the exact same DMX reticle that the 1 to 8 ATACR has, but in a 30 mil main tube here. So
Exactly.
the cool thing with the NX8 1 to 8 is this is one of the smallest, lightest 1 to 8 first focal plane optics on the market. So size and weight are sensational, but you still get an 8 power top end, first focal plane magnification. So the reticle is true to scale at no matter what level of magnification you want or need to shoot at. Illumination is great, obviously, again, super durable, and a really good mil-based reticle. So I think, kind of jack of all trades, the lightweight that you're getting, the compactness that you get in the new enhanced or refreshed, if you will, NX8. This is a really competitive optic, brings a lot to the table that really nobody else is doing, especially a 30 millimeter 1 to 8 in this size and weight configuration is something totally unique to the market.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because the NX8, when we did come out with it at the time, was about the shortest and lightest 1 to 8 you can get. It has a bunch of features. It is super awesome. Where this really shines, think backpack gun, truck gun, something that you need to keep compact, lightweight, and just something that's not going to weigh you down. Now, if you need the absolute Cadillac of LPVOs, it's the ATAC-R 1 to 8. This has actually been picked up by US SOCOM for their squad variable power optic program, and they just can't get enough of them. So if you need lightweight, not going to snag on a bag or anything like that, the NX8 is phenomenal. ATAC-R, it's bridging the gap between your higher magnification scopes and your red dots. It's the perfect in between. So an accurized carbine or an accurized large frame gas gun or something like that, this really takes the cake on that one. Both of them have a very, very bright, and I mean daylight bright illumination. So let's talk about daylight bright for half a second. When we talk about daylight bright, we're talking about under any conditions. With these, you don't have to worry about taking the extra second, even when your illumination's all the way on, to pull the red dot on the target, focus your eye, and then pull the trigger. If you turn these things up past 7 or 8 on their intensity, they go up to 10. It is retina burning bright. It is very bright. So you don't have to take that extra second to find your target on a cluttered background, on a background where maybe the sun is going down behind your targets or anything like that. It's going to save you time and eye fatigue after long firing streaks. So both of our LPVOs, extremely, extremely bright on the reticle illumination, and they were designed to be used in all conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of optics on the market right now that are claiming daylight bright and things like that. But really, as you start to kind of evaluate the different optics on the market, one of the things that really sets the Nightforce low power variables apart, again, is that illumination. There are very few that are truly, absolutely daylight, daytime red dot bright, where you can use them at 1 power just like a red dot. And both the NX8 and the ATACR definitely check that box, especially with that first focal plane reticle down at 1 power with the DMX reticle. It basically looks exactly just like a red dot. So that's one of the features that I like about both of these optics is they do absolutely perform as a red dot in those instances where you need 1 power fast reactive shooting, but you still do have the DMX mil-based reticle available to you when you actually rotate that magnification ring.
Very
so
well said.
jack of all trades, both the NX8 and the ATACR, so definitely two to look at for sure. All right, so I think that kind of gives everybody a pretty good idea of who Nightforce is, what Nightforce makes, and why you might want to consider a Nightforce for your next optic. If you are interested in any of these products, I'm sure Nightforce has full descriptions on your website, which is...
Let's go to www.nightforceoptics.com.
There it is. So Nightforce's website, battlehawkarmory.com is where you can find us, or if you are in the Metro Des Moines area, you can swing by our retail location in Grimes, Iowa. We have tons of these Nightforce optics that we would be happy to show you and kind of talk through some of the features and find the right one for you. So again, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining us today. And again, Nightforce Optics, everybody.
Thank you.